up? What's up, people? We're live right now. We got a big guest coming in. Shout out to everybody. Thanks for joining live. Yo, Digga, join live, man. We need you, bro. All right. Yo, we live right now. We're doing it big, everybody. Shout out to everybody in the live. Yo, yo, yo. Live right now, players. Let's see what we can do. IC86 in the cut, man. What up, people? What up? Let's go. Let's get it. How's everybody doing, my people? We live right now. We're doing a big video today. We're doing an interview with my man, How I Got Custody, on YouTube. You can follow him. Does big stuff. He'll be joining live real quick. Let's go. Yo, shout out IC86.0. Shout out my guy. Shout out 845 King Digga. He might be hopping in this live as well on co-host duties. Let's go. Let's go, people. Come on, man. What's up? How's everybody doing? Everybody, talk to me. Let's go. I had a good Sunday. I went to church, relaxing, chilling now, enjoying my day. How's everyone doing? And W in the chat. Let's go. Everyone think we from the West Coast. W's in the chat. How's everybody doing? Yo. We live, people. Oh, you just got off work, working hard. Let's go. Let's get it. That's a good thing. You know what I'm saying? It's a man to do, but work, man. You know what I mean? Work. I feel you. Yeah, people. And we got a lot of topics today, too. We got a lot of topics, pages of topics. You know what I'm saying? On it, man. On it. Work mode. Shout out to Zach Staka. Shout out to you, man. Let's go. Oh, we got How I Got Custody in the chat. Let's go. Yo. How are you, man? How are you?
Hey, pretty good.
Good. Yeah, man. Everybody, we're live. This is how.I.got.custody on Instagram. Everybody give him a follow. Please, all my followers, make sure you hit his page. All the fathers, you're going to learn a lot of stuff. Everyone struggling in family court, he can help you a lot. Maybe contact him about a consultation as well. That could really help you guys. Let's go. How you doing, man?
Doing pretty good. Hanging in there.
Good. Yeah, man. So what's up? Anything you want to say to the people? That's the guy who's going to be jumping in, a co-host. That's 845 King Digga. He just put the 100 in the chat. He's a father as well, and you know what I mean. And my boy IC86.0, he's a father as well. This is a great message. I hope you guys tune in.
Yeah, you want me to kind of introduce myself or just
That'd
say
be
what I'm all about in general real quick?
most definitely.
Okay, well, my name is James Christensen. I'm a father's rights advocate. I've been a I became a single custodial dad in 2001. My daughter's 22 now. She's actually still lives with me and still kind of dependent on me. You know how some of these millennial kids are. But uh, I went through my own custody battle in 2001, learned the hard way how to fight for my kid, and got full custody of her when she was 7 months old. And, a guy raising a daughter alone without the mother ended up bailing and abandoning her after fighting for me to barely have any contact with her. And along the way, I ran into a couple fathers' rights groups and some other people and bumped heads, networked, did things like that, and then started helping people along the way, giving them information and advice, and started seeing like I was about the only one who was doing that. So about a few years later, I started about 2004, 2005. I kind of started doing my own thing while still helping out and volunteering in fathers' rights groups. And then about 2008, I just started doing this stuff full time. And I've worked with thousands of men. I work with women too because it's about the kids for me, but it's usually guys who get screwed, as most people know. And work with countless people, working with them how to represent themselves without a lawyer. And most people do better after they fire their attorney. So like I did, I got custody without an attorney. I couldn't even afford an attorney, so I just went all out. And it turns out the way that I did stuff ends up being the way that things work. I had no real guidance or leadership dealing with this stuff. And so I just followed my gut instinct and my conscience, and I fought like heck to fight for my daughter. And it turned out that's usually the way guys win. I've stopped counting at 300 the number of guys I helped get full custody without a lawyer. And just I see it over and over when guys, they've been following their lawyer and not fighting that hard or kissing butt or trying to play Mr. Nice Guy. And when they drop all that or drop their attorney, they do better. And when they learn how to fight the way that I fought, they end up with way better results. And I've been preaching and teaching and working that for this whole time and trying to get the message out. So that's kind of the short of it. I don't know another attorney. I've never met another attorney who's helped 10 guys get full custody. I've helped a few hundred, and I'm not even an attorney. So that's kind of my little short stick about what I do in general, real quick.
All right. Thank you, man. Thank you, man. No, it's actually an amazing, beautiful thing. Real quick, I'm just going to address the chat. We have IC86.0 said, I have a 15-year-old son I haven't seen in over a year. We have joint custody, and she won't allow him to come visit us, including his little brother, shaking my head. And then 845 King Digga said, right, and salute. And we have a big salute from IC86.0. A lot of respect for what you do, man. And definitely reach out to him for a consultation. I think it could help you, IC. And let's continue. So do you want to...
So can I jump in and reply to the guy who said he hadn't seen his kid in a while?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you have a court order on my YouTube channel, if you just type in the my moniker, how I got custody on YouTube, you'll find me. If you do the hashtag how I got custody anywhere on the internet, you'll find me. I'm the only one who uses that. But I have a video on YouTube asking, the title is, why are you not doing contempt? If you have a court order and somebody violates it, they're in contempt of court. Now, whether a judge will believe that or you can convince a judge of that is one thing. If somebody stands up and interrupts a courtroom in the middle of any kind of trial, a murder trial or something, they might say, sit down and be quiet. And they do it again, they say, I'm going to hold you in contempt of court. And they might throw them in jail or kick them out of the courtroom or whatever. Contempt is a willful violation of a court order. If you have a court order and somebody's violating it, you should go to court and get them held in contempt. And the purpose of contempt, if you look at most states in the law or case law or higher court precedent, it says the whole purpose of contempt is to coerce somebody to comply. If somebody steals your car and takes something from you, you call the police. If you don't call the police and you walk around like, why did I get jacked from my car? Let's say somebody stole your car and you found it on the side of the road and you got it and it got stolen again, and you never call the cops and never go and looking for them to hold them accountable. then that's kind of on you. If there's this contempt proceeding that's available and you don't use it, then it's kind of on you for allowing it to happen, because somebody's stealing something from you that's yours, and you're not using the contempt's the only remedy I know of to hold somebody accountable for that. So, you're really, and I've actually seen, to be honest with you, there's this father, he claimed to be a father's rights attorney in Los Angeles, and I saw a post of his. He says, don't do contempt. The only thing you'll ever get back is money on contempt. Well, who deals with money on contempt? That's usually women dealing with child support. So he wasn't even he was telling dads not to even bother with it. Now, the reason why you can listen to me when I say something like that is because if you go to any of my videos on Instagram, YouTube, the link on my Instagram or YouTube, I have this thing called a flow page, which is like a link tree. It's all my links in one. In that flow page, I have a section called Proof of James's Wins. There's different sections of the flow page with different resources and stuff. I show you my winning contempt, where I got the mother found in contempt the very first time she violated my temporary visitation early on in my case. So I got 5 days a week for 4 hours a day, Monday to Thursday, and then 8 hours on Saturday. And she violated that like 4 times. I got her found in contempt on 3 out of 4. She had an excuse because one time went to the doctor and didn't let me see the kid. I got her found in contempt. I got her fined $250. She had an attorney with 17 years experience. There was a guardian ad litem, which is usually a radical feminist man-hater, that was on her side saying, oh, it was just a misunderstanding. It was just a mistake. That defended her. And you could go on my page and look at my winning contempt and see the court order. And it's a certified order, so it has a state stamp, so you know I didn't forge it. And at the end, you could see my signature by myself, representing myself, the mother's attorney's signature, and the guardian ad litem signature. I was outnumbered 3-1, the mother, her attorney, and the guardian ad litem. And I still got her found in contempt the very first time I tried. And I'm just astonished that people don't even know about contempt, or they haven't searched about it. When they find out, people say, oh, well, you don't want to do that. That'll make you look bad, attacking her. Well, what is the court system for but to hold people accountable and attack them? Like, nobody says when a prosecutor is prosecuting a rapist or a pedophile, oh, don't be too harsh on them. It'll look like you're being aggressive. They're the ones doing the bad deeds. So we're so programmed in society and so feminized and so bombed with feminism and don't blaspheme a woman that we think when it's time to hold them accountable, we can't. But you got to think, is my life with my kid more important than appeasing and pleasing the mother and being politically correct and following everybody else's lead and doing what everybody else says? See, the one thing that I did was I followed my conscience, even when I didn't know what I was doing, because I got her found in contempt like only a couple months into my court battle. I got my visitation. It would have been way faster if I knew what I was doing, like if I knew what I know now. And then I went to do contempt right away, and they played a delay game and had my daughter do an unnecessary surgery at Children's Hospital, and then it got canceled when I kind of protested. And then so it got bumped a few months, but I kept at it, and I got her found in contempt the first time I tried it. She walked out crying, and her attorney was totally embarrassed. You got to get on the offensive in this stuff, and when somebody violates you, you've got to go to war. You know, a lot of people right now are really excited about what Deion Sanders is doing. You know, I love what he's doing and stuff. You know what the number one thing I respect that guy for is when his, I guess it was his first wife, was acting crazy. He called the police and pressed charges against her for domestic violence and got a restraining order and got custody of his kids. That type of and he's criticized a lot for being truthful and blunt and bold and being no nonsense. He was no nonsense. I mean, he's no nonsense in everything in life. I mean, he's a good dude, have fun with him and stuff like that. When it comes down to business and his work and his little empire and stuff, he doesn't play around. And his kingdom of his kids, he was no nonsense about it. He didn't consult with it. How do you think it's going to look okay if I do this? No, he's like, this lady's crazy. She's getting violent. I need domestic violence protection order. I'm going to get my kids, and he did. And look at the fruit of his decision on that. So anyway, that's like a long tangent of doing contempt. But I don't understand why somebody doesn't do contempt. Like, maybe this person didn't know about it. But if you don't know what to do, you got to go find out, because there's answers out there. And I get a lot of people who say, man, I wish you were around 10 years ago. I was. You just didn't search hard enough, because I found the answers I needed when I had to find my answers in a phone book. I looked at this lawyer, that lawyer, this resource, that resource, and the guy that finally knew what he was talking about, I found him in a phone book because I kept looking and looking. And then I went to his, is a guy with this group called Dads America, or Dads Against Discrimination. I went to one of their free monthly meetings at a community center, and I listened to him talk. I said, I got to talk to this guy. I set up an appointment with him. I paid him his fee to do it, and I followed up with him, and I was nagging him to try and get everything I could. So if you want to fight for your kids, the answers are out there, but the places are few and far between, because the fathers' rights advocates I saw that were around that knew what they were talking about are dead, gone, or quit, or burnt out. And it seems like I'm about the only one left that I know of. So.
Thank you for that answer, man. And just real quick, we do have one more question in the chat. We've got the co-host, A45 King Digga. Right now, he said, can they still keep a lien on you if it's already been dismissed and withdrawn without prejudice? But she pushed the same paperwork in New York, but the judge specifically told her she has to file in Georgia, where he stays.
If you're talking about a lien for back child support or some money that's owed, I mean, the main thing that I deal with is trying to avoid even getting to those places. But as far as the language that he mentioned, if something's dismissed without prejudice, that means it could be brought up again. Some people may not know that language. If you dismiss something with prejudice, that means we are prejudiced against that action or litigation, and we're prejudiced against you and your stand on that. You will never be able to come to court again with that. So that's a frivolous claim, or we already resolved it, so you can't come up with it again. We resolved it for 1,000 and you wanted 10,000. So it's dismissed with prejudice. So if it's dismissed without prejudice, the person can come back and try and do it again. But as far as I'd have to do some research about rules and laws and stuff. But while something's dismissed and there's no judgment, there shouldn't be a lien when there's no judgment.
Okay.
That's kind of the short of that. But to delve into what to do about that, that's one of the ones where I'd have to see the paperwork or talk to somebody one-on-one about that in more detail.
Gotcha. All right. Now I think we got through those chats. Let's go into topic number 1 if you're down.
Sure.
All right. So it was the main problem in family court outside of bigot judges is dads fighting soft or quitting or being scared, right?
Yeah. So I kind of already alluded to this about following your conscience. If somebody's if a kidnapper takes your kids and you don't know where your kids are, you go looking for them.
Exactly.
Or if your kid stays the night at a neighbor's house and you don't like that neighbor anymore, then you don't let your kid go to that neighbor. But for some reason, like, men are naturally protectors. Even in the animal kingdom, the lion is the protector of the pride. He gets a bad rap for not hunting all the time, but actually he does. That's a little feminist thing. Even on National Geographic, they have feminist mentality. But excuse me, if somebody's, you should look at, like, when the mother does something, what if a stranger or somebody else did this? You wouldn't tolerate it. But for some reason, when the mother's the kidnapper or the kidnapper is entitled mother, we let it slide, or it's no big deal, or we don't want to ruffle any feathers, or we blow it off. When somebody takes your kids from you, or when somebody says you're not going to see your kids unless you pay me some money or child support, or do me this favor, or we're still together. Like, let's say you're done with her and she still wants to do friends with benefits, or she wants to be back together. Well, I don't like your new girlfriend, so you're not going to see your kid.
No.
That child already has a bond with you.
Yeah.
She wants to break that bond up and harm the child.
Exactly.
And why? Because all these ulterior motives, right? So that's harming the child for some selfish, narcissistic, I want to please me, so I'm going to use the child as leverage. To me, that's child abuse.
Yeah.
So if your neighbor your kid stay the night at a neighbor's house, and the neighbor is beating up his wife in front of your kid, or slaps your kid, or slaps his kid, or gets violent or drunk or whatever, you don't send your kid back to the abuser. You keep the kid away from the abuser. So when you go to court, you should be going for full custody and rescue the child from that toxic, control freak narcissist who is abusing your child. Because some dads go, well, I don't want to take the child from the mother. That's a cop-out punk move. You're making an excuse like, oh, don't think I'm blaspheming motherhood. I don't want to take the child away. Like if I ask a guy like, how come you don't want to go for custody? Or how come he's given me all the reasons he's a better parent? I said, well, why don't you just go for full custody? Well, I don't want to take the child away from the mother. It's like they're worried about getting their head cut off for blaspheming the king, of the kingdom or whatever. This is not a dictatorship. You don't have to. We're so brainwashed to think that. And then if you think about it, if the mother's a toxic manipulator who's going to brainwash the kid against you, why would you want her to have the kid half the time so she has all that time to continue to do it? Why don't you want the kid to be in the home where there's a safe place, where there's love? And generally, there's plenty of narcissistic men fathers out there, but generally, it's like the ratio is 90-10 with women and men, and because women are empowered to do it. But if you want 50-50, and you're telling me what a monster, suicidal, maniac, alcoholic, child abuser, whatever shit, why would you want her to have the kids 50%? Oh, I don't want to take the kid away from the mother. Well, this is also a reason why that's a cop-out, and it's a thing where we're brainwashed to think, let's move to kind of punk sissy mode and not look like we're trying to be really vicious toward the mother. The other thing is if you got full custody, you're in charge, and you get to let her see the kid whenever you want.
Yeah.
But we don't even think like that because we're so brainwashed. So if you're in charge of the kid, and the kid's in a loving environment, and then she starts to trip out, then you can pull back. But if she acts right, now you can let her see the kid. So you're not taking the kid away. So you don't need to be apologetic about it. So guys need to be aggressive. We need to stop being soft, because usually the dad is the better place for the kid. All the statistics show it. So why wouldn't you do what's best for your kid? Because we're scared, we want to be politically correct, and we're worried. We need to go to war and get on the offensive, and we can flip this around if every dad went to court and went for full custody, and usually if every dad fired their attorney, they'd have a better chance of doing that.
Yeah. No, I agree, and it reminds me of the saying of betatization through 1,000 concessions. You know what I mean? Just giving in, giving in, because they're like, oh, it's the mother. The kid needs their mother. Yes, the kid needs their mother, but the kid needs their father. And the statistic that it brings to me is that every single second a child spends with their biological father makes them that much less likely to be in prison, addicted to drugs, or involved in sex work. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
And wholeheartedly, I agree with you, and I think you're doing a great service in this message right here. We've got a lot of chats right now. Can we go in on a couple of them real quick?
Whatever you want to do it. You're the host.
Gotcha. All right. So pretty much Digga had continued on. He said he's getting $14.08 a month, but he doesn't make that with 6 children that he's taking care of. He said his connection's messing up. And so if you want to go in any quick brief statement on that, and then I got another big chat which I think might be from one of your fans, is Brad or Nelas. I could go in on that next.
Okay, so if there's a draconian, over-the-top, overbearing financial burden, whether it's child support, a judgment, back support, or whatever, my first attack would be going in to modify that, and then I'd also look at the laws in the particular state that you're in, because the purpose of child support is to support the child if a parent's not around. So if you got a shared 50-50 schedule and you're spending money on that kid, transferring it to the mother to get her nails done and a new car payment and all this other stuff, and then you're spending money while the kid's with you, it's double dipping. So you got to look at the intent of the law and quote the intent of the law and say this is all jacked up. Now, we have that going on all the time because this is one of the problems. We're dealing with the culture of the court system. And I always use an example like black people in the Jim Crow South had constitutional rights and they were technically free. But do you think in Jim Crow South in the 40s, 50s, 60s that they got a fair trial when they went to criminal court if they were, say, they're accused of slapping a white woman on the butt or something like that? No, it's because the culture in the courtroom, even though on paper they had rights, the people in there might have been in the Klan or just racist or whatever. So we're dealing with the culture of anti-father bigotry and the way that we're mentally perceived fathers. So a lot of times they're going to do what they're going to do because they always do it. That's why you got to do a little bit of research. You got to shove the law in their face and say, this is violating the intent of the law. The child's suffering because I'm going broke. And then if I struggle and get behind, then I go to jail, then I can't get a job. And there's this vicious cycle. So there's arguments to be made, but I try and modify that and attack that in the first place. I always try and attack stuff. If something's wrong or it's an injustice or too much money that I can't afford, I try and attack that first by a modification or vacating or undoing it.
Mhm. All right. And then we got Brad Ornelas. In the child custody agreement stats that I can call to speak with my child age 4, and it's over FaceTime, but it's like on stage in front of her other kids and her husband to eavesdrop every word and speak.
Okay.
I file for contempt.
Well, it all depends on what the language is. If the language doesn't say anything, you have to look at the language of the order. So if you agree to an order that says you get all this time, I mean, this is, and if you had an attorney, attorneys should think of this, and I know this because this happens all the time. There should be specific things that the phone conversations should be individualized. The child can go into their own room. The parents shall not interfere with phone calls. A lot of times they have a general vague language in there saying the parents shall not interfere. But if it's hampering and hindering the phone call, that could be contempt. It's kind of a stretch and it's harder to prove. But you could also do a motion for clarification. I need to clarify that my phone time with the kid is my phone time with the kid and not the brother's, mother's, cousin's, sister, and then when the barber's over at the house or hairdresser or whatever. So I need to clarify this, that it's alone time and nobody can interfere. Nobody should be in the same room. And the mother can come in and check on and start it up, and then the mother can check in when it time's up and see if the kid's doing okay, or do a check-in in the middle. But that's it. They got to stay out of the room. So I would try and clarify the order because of that problem. And then if there's a problem, then I would do contempt. But it depends on what he might have that language in there. He didn't mention the exact language, but language is key in there. Like if I'm going to do some landscaping, and they say, okay, $500 for the front yard, $500 for the backyard, and then I start doing it. I'm like, where's my 1,000? Well, we got it on paper that you have to do both the front and the back before I pay you. Or I pay you 500 up front, do the front, 500. Contracts are written out in detailed language, so there's no dispute. If you have vague language in a court order, that will be a problem. I see guys sign off on court orders saying the father shall have visitation as agreed upon by the parties. Well, I've had dads who've never been able to see their kids because they were dumb enough to sign that because they didn't read it and think, like, what does this really mean? That means she has to agree. So that means if she doesn't agree, I don't get visitation. So I've had guys who missed out on years with their kids because they signed an order saying, my visitation is whatever we agree upon. Now, that sounds great if it's an agreeable person, but you're in court fighting that person. So why would you go to court to fight to get an order or a contract in place because you can't get along, and you say, oh, the final order is whatever you guys get along with. You can't get along, so that's a bad order. So always make sure you have language very specific, and it doesn't hurt to overkill on a court order and overdo it and repeat stuff so that it's clear, so you never have to go back to court and say, what does this mean, or clarify it or leave something out.
Gotcha. Thank you for that. He had said, okay, thanks. And shout out Kill Him With Success, just joined in. How about we go on to topic number 2?
Okay.
All right. Dad should not use lawyers. If you do, then you better be on the tail. On their tail. On
their, you better be getting in their ass about stuff. Here's the thing. Remember, whether you have an attorney or not, this is your case, and the end result of this case is your life with your kids. A lot of times guys get lawyers, and lawyers say, oh, just trust me. And like, well, what are we doing? Like, can we get going, get a hearing so I can get some temporary visitation? Like, just trust me, just trust the process, just go with the process. You should be asking your attorney, why do we have to wait? Why can't we move now? What's the law or rule that says that I can't do that? You should be interrogating them because they're your mouthpiece. Like, think about it. A lawyer is like a sports agent or a Hollywood agent. If you're Jim Carrey or Denzel Washington or Michael Jordan or Kobe, and you're negotiating a new contract, and let's say Kobe wants $20 million from the Lakers for, I don't know what his last deal was, but let's say he wants $20 million, and his lawyer goes in there and walks out saying, I got 5. He would be saying, what the heck is wrong with you? I told you 20 minimum. He goes, well, I didn't want to piss them off, and you just trust the process. That lawyer, that agent, a lot of them are lawyers too, that agent would be gone. So exactly, your lawyer, like, that's Kobe's $20 million. That guy is just a mouthpiece representing what Kobe wants. So he can't go in there and say, oh, they intimidated me and I didn't want to be too harsh. I didn't want you to look like we're stuck up about your abilities or whatever. Like, look, he is who he is, and he gets to demand what he gets to demand. And so a lot of time attorneys don't speak for guys like that. They're like, let's follow the process, which is, like I said, it's the culture. It's like a public defender in the Jim Crow South. He says, well, cop a plea to life in prison. He says, I didn't rape that white woman. And the lawyer says, well, you're going to get the chair if you don't. Like, they've already given up. They've already thrown in the towel ahead of time. So you want, that person is your mouthpiece. So you better light a fire under the butt. And I always tell people, I have a video on my YouTube channel, how I deal with bad attorneys. You know the rules of professional conduct. They're supposed to diligently represent you competently and communicate with you as how to accomplish your goals.
Yeah.
But most guys just blindly trust their attorney. Like, if you have a mechanic working on your car and they say, oh, that'll be $1,500. Like, you said 500 at first. Well, we found this wrong, that wrong, and that wrong. You would double check and follow through and ask questions. You wouldn't just say, oh, okay, whatever. But we say, oh, okay, whatever, when it comes to lawyers and our life with our kids. Exactly. So if you're going to get in a lawyer, you better be all on top of them. And if they're not fighting for you, then screw them. Because when you represent yourself, I have another video on my YouTube channel. And this is all free stuff. I do consultations for money, but I have like I counted up one time, I had like $50,000 worth of information out there. Like, if an attorney told you this stuff, that they won't even tell you the stuff that I'm talking about. But let's say they did, it would cost you $50,000. So I have a whole bunch of free stuff. One of my free videos, I think it's the 5 or 6 reasons why I represent myself. I mean, right off the bat, nobody cares about your case like you do. These lawyers don't care. After a while, they get callous to this. Number 2, you're saving thousands of dollars. Number 3, you have all the time in the world to work on your case. The attorney's juggling 20 or 30 other cases. Number 4, you don't have to memorize your life. The attorney has to go in the paperwork and figure it out and ask you questions. You go into court. I won some hearings, like the contempt hearing. I argued, they argued, and then my last rebuttal argument, I thought of something off the top of my head. I'm like, oh, Your Honor, look at Exhibit 17 and look at Exhibit 24. They said that before, and I knew something right on the fly because I knew my life. And her attorney was fumbling through the page. He couldn't even follow along because he can't memorize our lives. Like, I already know my life. I don't have to memorize it. So there's many advantages to representing yourself, especially the money one, and the fact that the vast majority of guys I talk to are frustrated with their attorney. When they fire their attorney and learn how to fight the right way, they do way better. And just think about it. If you lose, at least you save yourself $10,000, $20,000. Now, if you're way behind the 8 ball, it may be hard to overcome and fix stuff. But if you fight the right way, you give yourself a chance. And most of these attorneys aren't fighting the right way.
I agree. Yeah, man. I think you have to. I just made a post about that probably 2 or 3 days ago. I said it's like people fighting for their kids. Like, you need to, if you're having an attorney, you need to be on them. You need to be contacting them to the max you can. Especially, you got a public defender. You got Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. You can call them all day. You know, and why are you it to the max? And if you're fighting for your kids, you need to be on their tail, so to speak.
And also, I mentioned on my flow page, even if you Google how I got custody flow page, there's my flow page. It's under all my videos. I'll also show you my court order that's never changed. And my daughter's, she's over 18 now, but when she was 7 months old, it shows me getting custody and the attorney's signature and the mother's signature and the guardian license signature. It shows me having full custody, sole decision making, all that stuff. And I was representing myself. I was a warehouse worker who flunked out of college and never been to court before. I didn't even have a bachelor's degree. Now I went back to school and I got a bachelor's degree in law and justice. But yeah, so I have my winning court orders to prove and back up what I'm talking about. Because you shouldn't believe me just because I sound good. You should do a little more research, and that's why I put my winning orders out there.
Yeah. No, wholeheartedly, and that struck a chord with me because it's like, as fighting for my son, as I began doing that, I was just somebody working at the Gap warehouse and all that stuff. I mean, yeah, I did music and I did a little bit on this YouTube and had some success, but really, I identify a lot with what you're saying.
Right.
Yeah, brother. No, we do have one of your followers in the chat. I'm gonna read their chat real quick. Okay. It says, "Aloha fathers." This is from Komet_calling. He says, "Aloha fathers, we are in the struggle. Love to James, he is a vet. Reach out to me in Hawaii. Plenty fathers alienated from their kin here. My son was just kidnapped by his mother. We all need you too." Yeah, that's a beautiful. Yo, you're in my prayers, man. God bless you. Komet calling. God bless your children. Yeah. All right. And then let's go into topic 3.
Okay.
Dads need to choose and use all weapons available. I identify with that.
Yeah.
Tell me.
And go ahead. I'm sorry.
I said, tell me where you're coming from with that.
Oh, okay. So there's a whole bunch of. I mean, when you're going to a war, in court, and it is a war because you're fighting over something. And this is why it's bullcrap when the attorneys say, well, let's not look like we're attacking her. Let's not be too aggressive and this and that. Well, you're going to court to show that you're a better parent. So you would have to attack her and say she's mentally ill, she was suicidal, she's mixing pills with alcohol, she beats the kids, or she has a new boyfriend who has a sex offense on his record. That makes her look bad. But those are the factors in the law to help you win. Like a prosecutor never says, like I said earlier, like they don't say, well, let's not talk about how viciously he abused the children. That's what the jury wants to know, to put this person away. So, when you go to war, like you might have a bazooka, like in your arsenal, you know, a bayonet, and you got a hand knife and a handgun and grenades. You may not use all those weapons, but when it comes time for it, you're ready and you have it and you get trained in all of them. So when you're going to war in family court, usually what happens is the woman goes and gets a restraining order. Then you're on supervised visitation, and then you're getting mentally wore down, or guys get blindsided who never saw it coming, and the woman was conniving and scheming on them and plotting this out, and they're totally blindsided, kicked out of their home. They have to go live with their parents or a buddy or couch surf, and then they're slaving away at work to pay child support, temporary alimony, and supervised visitation, and they're going broke, and they're traumatized. The woman just took all the weapons that were available to her and bombed the crap out of you, and your attorney's saying, well, just be nice and passive and wave up a white flag, and just let's hope that this vicious black widow who's abusing you and spitting you out all of a sudden has mercy on you. No, you're going to court, and some of the language for court is you have oral argument. You are adversarial parties. You're adversaries, which means an enemy in war terms, and you go to, there's a prevailing party. So it's a competition for a prevailing party to win something at the end. And so you need to use the weapons that are available. So right from the beginning, if she comes on board with the restraining order, you should go find all the statistics about women lying and abusing restraining orders for leverage in custody battles. Exactly. I have a packet in my store that defending against restraining orders, and I cite all those things because I fought against, the mother tried to get 7 restraining orders on me over the course of about 8 years. The less I talked to her, the more her attorney tried to get restraining orders. And I attacked her, and I said how stupid it is. I had a client one time, he was in a wheelchair. His wife was disabled too, but she just walked kind of with a limp. I can't remember what's wrong with her, but she tried to get a restraining order against him. In our paperwork, we said, and I helped him with this paperwork. In the paperwork, he said, what are you worried about? I'm bound by a wheelchair. And when he moved really slow. Like you could see it coming. Like he would move like this, literally. And what are you worried about? Me doing donuts in the parking lot of our apartment in my wheelchair? Like that's the worst thing I could do. We took her statement and we made it look as stupid and ludicrous as possible. So when the judge is like, what is this about? They just dismiss the thing. So you want to get on the offensive. You want to use their words against her. But there's, you know, you get on the offensive. When you're on the defensive, you turn that around and make it offensive and make her stuff look as stupid as possible and use all the stats and the data and evidence out there. And then use the evidence and the stats. Everybody's heard about how kids suffer when a father's not in the home. Use that and say, why would this woman want to put our child or children in an at-risk category? Everybody in the world, every pastor, every politician, every counselor, all the statistics, all the science, everybody is saying, father, step up to the plate. Here I am, available. And the only person in the world that doesn't want this child to have a father is that woman right there. And you point to her in court. You get on the offensive like that and make her look, that sounds stupid, right? When you put it that way. But usually lawyers go to court, oh, Your Honor, we bow down before you and worship you today, and we just beg of you to please allow my client to be involved in his kid's life. He's nice. He's on time for work. They don't care about all that stuff. Make her look stupid and make her look like the child abuser she is, because when you withhold a child from a parent, you're starving them of the nutrition and for their soul and their spirit of a father being involved. If they were starving them of food, CPS would come in and take the kids. Exactly. She's starving them of a basic life need of a father. And I have a video on YouTube. It's called The #1 Argument for 50-50. So if you are going for 50-50, that's the #1 argument. But it's kind of the same argument for full custody, because I'm talking about how stupid and bad she looks. But you should also be doing discovery, sending her questionnaires, or do a deposition. If you lose a hearing, like when I lost a hearing and I got 0 visitation the first time I tried, I did an appeal from a family law commissioner to a judge. That's in Washington. California has commissioners also. Some places have magistrates. And then I went to a judge, and the judge gave me 5 days a week after the commissioner gave me 0. Same courthouse. So I keep trying and trying. And if I lose a hearing, I might do a motion for reconsideration and go back to that same judge or magistrate or commissioner, ask them to reconsider their decision. Then I'll appeal to a judge. And I've been to the Court of Appeals also.
Yeah.
I use everything available to me and every weapon available to me and every bit of recourse, not to abuse the system against her, but to use every bit of recourse and opportunity I have.
Exactly. That's what it's about, man. It's about fighting for your son, fighting for your daughter, fighting for your child at the fullest extent you have. There's no weapon available to me that I'm going to not use to protect my child.
Right. Right. Exactly. Yeah.
I agree wholeheartedly with that mindset, man. And I think it's good for a lot of men to step into that. I have some friends personally who, like, I try to help them with fighting for their kid and all this stuff. And I show them some of your videos. I show them some of other content creators, some of other, like, people's content as well. And it's just that they don't want to go all out on their baby mother. They refuse to. And
if I could jump in real quick, just think about that. They don't want to go all out. If let's say you're if you're going to tech school to be a mechanic or a computer programmer, if you don't go all out and you half-ass it, you may not pass, or you may just be an all right expert, and then you won't do as well in the job market applying for jobs. Or if you're taking a test, or if you're trying to make the football team in high school, or you're trying to be a great athlete, if you don't go all out, you're not going to be what you want to be. We're talking about stuff that's temporary. Like if you're an athlete, that only lasts through college, and only a few people make it to the pros. If you got a job, okay, you can always retrain and get another job. You don't get to retrain for another shot at your kids usually. This is your life with your kids. Why would you not? I dropped everything. I went to work and I ate, and my life was obsessed with figuring out how. Now, I took breaks. It wasn't 24/7 every minute. But how could you not, like, if my kid is missing and out in the woods and that's the last time we saw her, I would recruit everybody I could and get flashlights and look day and night and post flyers. That's going all out. Why wouldn't you do that here? Somebody's kidnapping your kid just because it's titled mom. And then also, when you do have the desire to fight and stuff, you need to know everything you're doing. Some guys like, let me just go to court and fill out some paperwork. You should know all the rules and the law and everything that has to do with what you're doing. Like if you're an electrician and you go into a house and you know how to wire stuff up, but then there's regulations in your county or your state or the city about you have to wire stuff up this way. I don't know anything about wiring and stuff like that, but there's specs to do that. If you just know how to just do it, but you don't know the specs and stuff, you're missing out something, and it cannot be up to code, and you can get in trouble, or they could have a fire or whatever. You want to know everything you need to know, and you want to fight all out, just like with anything else in life. But this is your kids.
Mm-hmm. I agree. It's like, for that, I'm gonna fight harder than I've ever fought. For me, for my son, I'm fighting harder than I can ever have thought I'd fight for anything. And I'm going to continue.
And then the other thing is, the vast majority of cases, actually, it's really only like, I don't know, 20, 25% of women will viciously fight you to the death and take the case all the way to trial. And first of all, I'm game. Let's go to trial. I got nothing to lose. I want to go out, because when I face my daughter when she's 18, I'm going to be able to, when she says, Dad, how come you weren't in my life? How come you're only every weekend? Or how come I didn't see you for so long? Don't look at me. Look at this stack of papers all the way to the moon. Go talk to your mother, because I was fighting for you the whole time. I was, outside of knowing I'm going to stand before God one day and give an account as to what kind of father I am, the second biggest fear that I had was facing my daughter and said, I didn't try. I half-assed it. I didn't care enough about you. I cared more about my comfort and my feelings than to exert some energy. Now, it's overwhelming and it's hard, but is your kid worth it or not? And the thing is that most of the time, when some guys who've been soft or didn't fight or didn't know what they're doing, as soon as they get on the offensive, half of these women say, oh my God, I can't believe you're doing this. And they finally respect them for standing up. Like, let's just work it out. And now you have some leverage to negotiate. Sometimes it's not even that hard, but guys never even try. So they say it's like it's darkest before the dawn. Your answer might be right over the hump of you just growing some balls and getting on the offensive this one time. I had a guy who, his baby's mom took the kid, trashed his house. You'll never see your kid again. Was talking so much smack, and he got a hold of me at the beginning of his case. He filed some paperwork. We bombed her with discovery, like 100 pages long, and she got a stack of papers this thick. She freaked out and was crying, and they settled on 50-50 in a week.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like that. You just get on it. When a bully comes and takes your lunch money, you keep giving them lunch money, they're not going to stop.
Exactly.
If you give him $2 instead of one, he's going to drool over, he's going to want to bully you even more. But if you stand up to him, he might walk away and tuck his tail and run. Or you might have a fight, but he's not going to want to fight you every single day for something he's used to getting easily. So, yeah.
No, no, I agree. I agree. I agree. Like too many men I know have gone through this. Too many, like I've gone through this same stuff, man, and I'm still going through it, fighting for my kid. And just hearing your stuff, it motivates me, it uplifts me, it helps me to continue the fight. To, you know what I mean? Just never let myself hold back on doing everything I can to protect my son from a child abuser.
Yeah, and a lot of people say, well, you got custody of her when she was 7 months old. That was easy. The mom took me back to court to modify when I moved 30 miles. I lived in Seattle. She lived in LA. We were in court for a year and a half, and I had to go to the Court of Appeals to fix something in there. And she tried restraining orders here and restraining orders there. And then I went to court to modify child support when I found out she was balling and making 3 times as much as me. And then her attorney would drag a 2-week hearing into a 4 to 5 month war. And then I had to go to the Court of Appeals to get my judge reversed when he didn't do child support right. I was in and out of court for 18 years. So when people say, there's a lot of people say, oh, you had it easy or this and that, and they just crap on what I did and dismiss it because they assumed that it was easy because I won and their case is so hard. No, it was hard as yours. I couldn't eat for the 40 days that, I ate a little bit, but I got real skinny and I couldn't eat when the 40 days I didn't see my daughter at first. I've been through it all. I was thrown in jail for 8 days for something that I didn't do on my case. And so I've been through it all. The only thing I haven't been through is being falsely accused of molesting a kid. Some guys get that. Outside of that, I've seen it all. And I was in it and out for 18 years while being a single custodial parent, while doing this and listening to everybody else's horror story. You got one horror story you're dealing with. You're capable of doing this. You can do this.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to make a decision to go through the hell, especially for the short period of time of the first battle. I liken it to like an Indiana Jones movie. Like I'm going down a tunnel and there's booby traps, there's spikes, there's snakes, there's spiders and animals and thugs and stuff, and it's a dark, scary looking tunnel, but my daughter's on the other side. I'm going through it because my daughter's on the other side. The end. There's nothing else that needs to be said. There shouldn't be any other motivation. Your life with your kid is at the other end of the tunnel, and the tunnel is that courtroom, and you can navigate it if you want to.
Yeah.
But you got to want to get some help if you don't know. I've had guys who watch my videos for like months and months, and they went to court and watched court hearings, and they got full custody by themselves without an attorney and never even did a consult with me.
Yeah.
So it's possible. But those guys, they have to make it an obsession. And if you get a consult with me, you save yourself dozens and dozens, maybe hundreds of hours of research. Because I literally, my court battle was 7 months. It literally would have been no more than 3 months if I knew what I knew now. And I'm sharing what I know now with everybody.
Yeah. Good. That's good stuff, man. That's what it's about. It's about that positive stuff. It's about fighting for God, fighting for the kids, fighting for family, and all of that beautiful stuff. That, like, what you're saying is like all the men that I know that, like, some of them that are scared to go to court. Some of them are scared to take this fight, and that's not what. That's not what you want to be doing when Jesus is back at the resurrection. That's not what you want to be doing, being scared to fight for your kid, to be scared to fight, to admit the abuses that have happened to your child, to the horrible ways they've been weaponized against you, or the manipulation or the alienation or any of those things. I agree wholeheartedly.
And if you change your mindset, like just like in a lion pride, the male lion is the king of that pride, and he's the king of just if you look at the movie The Lion King, it has a lot of real life principles. If you go and run from your calling, somebody else is going to take over your little kingdom, like Scar, his evil uncle, took over. And while Simba was frolicking with the other animals he shouldn't be frolicking with.
Yeah.
You are the king of your family. God made you the king, the leader, the protector. Your kids are at risk for being molested, being violated, being traumatized by that new boyfriend, by that stepdad. I'm convinced the stepdads and the new boyfriends are the main molesters, because they see a young teenager walking around half naked around the house, and they don't have any biological tie. There's some good stepdads out there, but I'm just saying that opens the door even more. And so you're the king of your kingdom. You should walk in and say, how dare you crazy MFers come in and try and take the father away from my children? They're stealing something from your children.
Yeah,
You wouldn't tolerate if some guy came by like with no court action and say, hey, let me talk to your kid. Let me grab your kid. Hey, kid, come. Or they're a stranger, or the mom's new boyfriend treated your kid. You wouldn't tolerate it without. All of a sudden, when we go to court, then we'll tolerate it all.
exactly.
Act like
Man.
these people are backwards. It's my kingdom. Those are my kids. I'm going for them.
No,
Change your mindset.
I mean, 100%. Let's put it like this. You had spoken often about lions, but you look at lions, how they actually operate when they come in contact with a female lion, a male lion, the new alpha. He will kill the male that was the previous alpha, and he will kill
Right.
all offsprings. And then all of the female offsprings, he will make his sister wives to the mother.
Yeah.
And that's what happens in nature. And it happens in
That's a
humans
great point.
free. And it happens in the fact that females with stepfathers are the most likely to be molested and all of this stuff. And like the male sons tend to be abused because it's illegal to murder for humans. We have these laws and
Right.
stuff.
Right.
Still that same desire, that's still that same drive that drives the lion male to kill the male heirs of the previous alpha.
That's a great point. I never even thought about that. That's a great point.
I agree wholeheartedly, man. I see you see my red pill Lions hat, man. I love Lions, man. You know what I mean? Yeah. So all right, so we're going into it was 3B we're at now, right? 3B?
I can't remember. I actually don't have the list in front of me, so because I got my screen here. But
Oh,
whatever you want to go to.
I'm going to 3B. I want to do it in order. I feel like you gave me an excellent list. I want to go through as much as we can for the time you've got. I know you're a busy man, hardworking dude, big high-profile guy. You know what I mean? Let's go. So what I'd say is 3B I have listed on my notes. I wrote down all the things you texted me. Dads need to always go for full custody. That's what's best for the kids. All the data says it. And that's 100% accurate. That's 100% accurate.
Yeah, and if you go to my flow page, I have a few different links where there's a paper written by the London Journal of Childcare where they talk about the growing body of scientific evidence that shows more and more that kids don't develop properly in the toddler and infant years. Everybody says, oh, the tender years doctrine and the mothers are the nurturer and all this stuff and breastfeeding and stuff like that. No, they need bonds with both parents. And the tender years doctrine was created in like 1860 old Europe. So it's archaic science. And it was just, guys used to have custody and moms didn't have their kids. And this feminist came in and said this, and they swung the other way. And the mothers had always got the kids and the dads didn't see their kids. It went from the pendulum swung one extreme to the other. So that's outdated science. But in my flow page, I have a section that says must see for dads. Every dad should look at the stuff that I say that's must see. It's free. And so the first three things there should be exhibit 1, 2, and 3. Here's all the science and data of absent fathers. And actually, most people say, oh, that's when a dad isn't around and isn't involved and he's a deadbeat and he abandoned the kids. No, all those statistics are when a father's not in the home full time. And there's statistics that people are talking about now that say, single custodial dad homes do just as well as intact families. That's because the captain of the ship or the leader and the protector is there.
Yeah.
When it's a single mother home, the captain, the leader, the protector is not there.
Exactly.
And that dad has been the Dads Against Discrimination guy told me that 20 years ago. It's just now it's finally getting out. So dads should go with what's best for the kids. The father to have custody. We already tried for 60 years to do the female experiment. It utterly failed. Look around. Yeah. Look around. Every kid that's gangbanging didn't have a father in the home. Everybody that's in jail, everybody that struggled financially, and actually the whole welfare program specifically after the civil rights movement specifically targeted black families to dangle government cheese in front of a woman that she chased after to push the dad out. But now every race is obviously bandwagon hopped on that, and so everybody's doing it, and it's the destruction of the family. So, but also, if you're going for something, like when you carry the ball, you run with the effort that you're going for the end zone. Now, you most likely won't make it, but you go all out. Like if that guy misses a tackle, you don't slough off and like, let me run out of bounds. I'm only going for 3 yards. You're going for a home run every time when you step up to the plate. And if you fall short, You might only get a single or double, but you're on base. So these guys, they'll go for 50-50, or they'll go for, you know, just get every other weekend, and you just top yourself out. Why not go for full custody if you fall? I say shoot for the stars and hopefully you hit the moon. Most of these attorneys will tell a guy shoot for the clouds and then you hit a tree branch. On top of that, if the mother's coming to court and saying that you're a monster, this is why this is a dumb strategy to go for anything less than full custody. If the mom comes to court and says you're a monster, you're dangerous, anger management, abusive, domestic violence, suicidal, mentally ill, alcoholic, she just called you a monster who's an unfit parent. You turn around and say, I want 50-50. You just called her a fit parent, a good woman, a moral person. You just said she's credible. She said you're a monster. So both of you believe that she's a good, honest person, and so they're going to go with the good, honest. You just sabotage and undermine your own case by saying she's a great woman.
Exactly.
You don't win points. There's fathers' rights groups out there that say we're not going to lower ourselves to these women and try and get full custody. We want shared parenting. Well, while you're sitting there with that stupid theory, they're still swooping up kids and giving them to mom while you're sitting there feeling all nice and moral in your situation. Like in early on with Hitler's Nazi Germany, Chamberlain was the prime minister of England, and he was negotiating with Hitler while Hitler's swooping up Poland and France and Czechoslovakia, wherever else he was going. When Churchill came over, he said, screw that, we're fighting this dude. We're going to take some losses, but we're taking out the enemy and we're going to war. All this dancing around and pussyfooting and stuff isn't going to work. So you have to go to war, and with anything in life, you shoot your shot and you go for the max possible that you can get.
Exactly.
And if they say, well, that's not nice, we should be able to work it out 50-50. Well, if you could work it out, then go work it out. Oh, you can't work it out? So now you got to fight. She's trying to put the children in an at-risk category. Why would you reward that and say, oh, I want 50-50 and share the kids with you, a child-abusing narcissist control freak who wants to take the kids away from me, and worst of all, wants to take the father away from the children.
Exactly.
I mean, you love your kids, you miss your kids and stuff like that, and it hurts you, but it hurts them even more. So you got to go for full custody.
No, I agree wholeheartedly, man. I don't think there's any good mother trying to take children away from a fit father.
Yeah.
I'll put it like
And there's a lot of great mothers out there who wouldn't even think to do that. But the vast majority of court cases are contested cases where you're fighting and contesting when you should say, you know what, we didn't work out, you hurt my feelings, you cheated on me, but I'm not going to hold that against you. And this is one of the arguments I use. Your Honor, she found me a great candidate to create children with. Exactly. And now she's saying, I don't deserve to have the children, or the children don't deserve me. She's bipolar or something, whatever.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, hey, real quick, could you explicate on child support as a scam on topic 4? I just have to check the door real quick.
Okay.
But and then I'll be
okay. So child support's a scam because, first of all, the government is getting involved in your family relations, and the government makes profit off of it. A lot of people know about Title 4D. They get bonus money every time they order. Let's say they order $1,000 child support, go to this woman. They get $1,000 in Title 4D money, bonus money. They don't get it every time it's paid. They get it when they make an order. So they want to maximize the orders. But if you think about it, when the family is together, does the government come in and say, okay, you pay your Macy's bill, he pays the car note and the mortgage, you pay the Target bill? They don't come in and intervene in your life, and they don't come in and intervene in your life and tell you what you do and how you spend, and you take out the garbage and you spend time with the kids after Monday Night Football. You can spend time with them on Tuesday, and then the kids go upstairs to the mom in the rec room and they play with. They don't intervene in your life. So when you separate, you still are a family, just the adults are separated. You didn't become no longer the father. She's still the mother, you're still the father. So your relationship to the kids stayed the same, and it's the same forever. Yeah. This broke up. That status of the family that is broken up has no bearing on the government's right to come in. So really, technically, the whole family court system, them ordering how much you can see your kid, is unconstitutional. Now, it's good because if we didn't have it, women would just take off and disappear with the kids and you couldn't enforce it. So it's good that you can enforce that. But the whole child support thing, the other problem is when you look at a child support order, it says the mother makes this, she should pay for the kids this much. The father makes this, he should pay this much. Since the kids live with the mother, the money, his money goes over there. Well, what about her money she's supposed to pay for the kids? How come they don't keep track of that? Everybody talks about when he sends money, do they keep track of where it goes? She actually has a child support obligation. If he had custody, she would have to pay for it. How come they only track this transfer and they don't track whether she's paying?
Let's go, people. Let's go. Yo, we got you. We got you. All right. All right. So now we're at topic 5. Restraining orders are BS. Plus, guys are usually stupid with the way they defend, deal with them.
Okay, so do you want me to go ahead and
Yeah.
expand upon the topic? Okay. So, I mean, restraining orders, first of all, just think about the nature of a restraining order. A lot of times they'll do a restraining order because, oh, the mother needs protection. So, or the dad's going to kill me or beat the snot out of me. If you violate a restraining order, it's not going to mean any worse jail time than beating somebody. It's definitely not going to be worse than killing somebody. So the piece of paper is just a fake thing because it really only stops the guys who don't want to break the law. So it's really made for good guys and to be able to control them. And like sometimes when they go get emergency restrainers, they'll get an emergency order and say, I can't let the dad know that I'm doing this because if I do, he'll kill me. Well, if he's going to kill you for attempting to get a restraining order, once you get it, he's going to be really enraged. And then if he's willing to risk the death penalty, there's so much hypocrisy about it. It's total BS. So I met with a psychologist one time and talked to him about it. He said the whole thing's bogus. A piece of paper is going to stop somebody who's a psychopath or sociopath from murdering somebody. He's like, that is this bull crap. Yeah. And so the only reason they grant them half the time, if they're being sincere, is like, oh, I don't want to be on the news, is that one judge who didn't grant it and then she got killed. So there's a crazy psychology behind it. But also, when dads go to court, they'll do something stupid like, well, I just want to work things out with her and want to be for the sake of the family and stuff. Now you look like a stalker because she says she doesn't want anything to do with you. Then you turn around and say, well, I want to work stuff out, or the reason I called her and violated it because I want us to get back together and be like, that's a good thing. She's sitting. You got some guys don't really think and step outside themselves because you have to think. When I go to court, I'm talking to a total stranger, and I have to tell them our story, and it's a game of perception. The way that they're looking down, the judge is looking down from this high perch and looking down at us, and she's saying, I don't want anything to do with him. And you're like, Your Honor, all I want to do is work things out for the sake of the family. So you're still pursuing her, and she's distancing herself from you. Now, one thing that the first time my baby's mom went to court and tried to do an anti-harassment, she wasn't claiming domestic violence. She was claiming harassment because I was arguing with her over my right to see my daughter when she wasn't letting me see her. And she's like, oh, he's harassing me and stuff. So the judge kind of saw it for what it was, and I made her look stupid with a couple of techniques that I use. But then we were in the middle of a hearing that lasted about 40 minutes, and then they were complaining so much about me calling the house. Like, she had a couple roommates and her sisters. They rented this like right after college, and so a bunch of friends renting a big house with a bunch of rooms and stuff. So there's a bunch of people who are there to testify. James calls the house. I'm like, wait a minute, Your Honor. It finally hit me. Wait a minute, Your Honor. I'm starting to get the perception that their whole argument is about, like, James is calling the house to talk to the mother. Your Honor, I could care less whether I talk to her ever again the rest of my life. I'm only trying to see my daughter and find out how my daughter's doing. That's the only reason I'm calling the house. And then the judge goes, oh, we don't even need a protection order then. Like, he believed me. It sounded pretty legit. And then all her cronies in the courtroom like, no, no, save her. So, but the point was is that I distanced myself from her. Once somebody turns into a Judas traitor on your case and they want to destroy your life with your kid, I just did a video on this. You shouldn't be trying to make it your number one priority to make that person work with you or work it out. You should go for your kid and go get your kid. And especially if you're getting divorced, like a lot of guys, like I'll never tell a dad that okay, you need to go through with the divorce or you need to get divorced, because that's a thing, that's a God thing, a covenant with God. I'm not going to touch that. That's their choice. But if you're going and fighting first and foremost to reconcile with the mother when she's going through divorce and keeping your kid from you, and you're neglecting the kid, you might lose her and the kids. Go rescue your kids, and if she's willing to be civil and real and wants to own it and say, you know what, it was a mistake, or I was playing games and I was being a witch, then she'll own it. And if she doesn't, at least you got your kids. That person will not always be your wife or girlfriend. Those kids will always be your kids. So that's the priority going to court. And, you know, like I got a packet defending against restraining order in my store. Like almost everybody who's gotten it has been able to fight it off or modify it, because it attacks the bullcrap lines, but also it cites a bunch of lawyers and judges and entire bar associations that have written articles that women use this stuff as leverage. Now, if you go in there yourself and say, oh, she's just being a radical feminist, or she's just being a woman, or this is what women do, they're not going to take your word in and of itself. But if you start quoting their brethren or all their comrades that are in the club of the bar association, then they'll take it seriously. So you got to come in with some ammunition like that, and you got to get on the offensive. Once she tries to get a restraining order against you, she's putting, let's say you don't have a record at all. You never even trespassed or got in a fight when you were a kid with another dude. Yeah. And she's trying to get a restraining order against you. If you violate that restraining order, now you're a criminal, you can go to jail. She wants to get you to go to jail when you're totally innocent. Exactly. That's a false accuser. That's a total traitor. She doesn't want you to be free. You need to look at the gravity of what she's doing for what it is. Now, she's thinking like a lot of women, like, oh, I'm mad at him, so I'll just call the cops, or I'll get a restraining order. They never think of the ramifications of what they're doing. He might go to jail or whatever. And, you know, there's women complaining about men being in jail and not around for their kids and stuff. And, you know, a lot of them put them in jail. And so if she's willing to do that, she's a traitor and she's your enemy. You have to look at her like that and attack accordingly.
Wholeheartedly, I agree with that, man. I like, you know what I mean? I don't understand how I could ever not. Like, that's the truth right there, what you just said. It's ridiculous. There's no reason, and there's so many people I come in contact with that are in fear of addressing someone that is not in fear of putting them in jail, that is not in fear of taking them away from.
And when a woman calls the cops on you and say you hit her and you didn't, and you prove it and they drive away, you should press charges for the crime of false reporting. Like, how many times does somebody commit a crime against you and you won't report it? Now, sometimes people in certain areas or certain parts of the city or certain neighborhoods, people get in a fight or stuff goes down. There's like a code, like, let's not get the cops all in our neighborhood. Let's just squash this business ourselves. But we're talking about your family and your kids. And somebody violating your home, kicking you out of your home from some bogus restraining order. And all the laws, they're bending them over backwards so much where domestic violence isn't even domestic violence anymore. It's things like coercive control. Like if you said something to hurt her feelings or you talk bad about her in the public and now she can't get a job, you controlled her coercively by, you know, Jedi mind trick, or you're the Force, you're the Holy Spirit, and you're everywhere at once and you're controlling her life. And it's so vague. You know, it could be anything. If she comes in court and cries, oh, domestic violence, because she felt like she's worried you're going to hurt her. I know a guy got a 5-year protection order because he slammed a phone. And she's like, I was worried he was going to hurt me after that. And he never hit her in his life. So the domestic violence stuff is bullcrap. Until it gets to an actual threat or actual violence, it shouldn't. They're expanding it because in Washington, they tried to pass a law. If you look at a woman wrong, like if you're flirting with her too hard, she can get a restraining order against you. Like, how do you read the mind of somebody like that? But that's the thinking of radical feminists. So you just gotta go. You gotta go for it and fight this stuff.
Wholeheartedly, I agree with that. I think that stuff is wrong. I think it is meant with the only intention of limiting fathers from being able to be in their children's lives when they're what their children need the most is their father, them unconditionally.
I mean, it's a tool for the female agenda. And women always want to raise up, have control, dominate, and stuff like that. People out there who are Bible believers, after the curse of pain during labor, it says that your desire is going to be to rule over a man. And it's a woman's sin nature to want to rule over a guy. And they don't stop, and they don't know why. And they, until you put them in check, they're just going to keep going. And they don't have any consequences, don't feel any remorse about it. So
Exactly. And speaking on radical feminists and the subject, briefly, would you be able to explicate a little bit about, you said you were on Pearl?
yeah, Pearl from the Pearly Things interviewed me for about an hour.
Yeah. How was that?
That was great. What I really enjoyed about her was how much she listened to what I was saying, and being a woman, she was listening intently because she picked little things out of my answers, and then she asked me to expand upon that and talk about that because she was really concerned about things like that. Like I told her some of the topics that we're talking about, I would throw those out. She's like, well, wait a minute. So you're saying 50-50 laws won't work, or, are the judges, do you think the judges are in on it? Like, she was really listening, trying to absorb what I was saying. Some interviewers would just ask a question and let you ramble on and fill up the time, and they're not really. She wanted to know and learn, and she's still relatively young. She's only like 26, I think, and she wanted to know. And then when I said something that kind of pricked her, kind of made her radar go up, like, wait a minute, what about? Can you talk about that and explain that? And then there was a couple times in the interview she goes, oh, like that makes sense, and like that's why it is the way that it is. And I say stuff that's contrary to like all the fathers' rights groups, like, we want equal visitation, we want 50-50 custody. I'm like, that's bullcrap. You're not going to, even the few states who have 50-50 laws, and I think it's one of the topics I mentioned, but even the few states that have 50-50 laws, it's not going to work because the women they always have exceptions for domestic violence or child abuse, and the women are already lying about that. They're just going to lie about it more. And I said that to Pearl, and she's like, oh, yeah. So, yeah, it was a great interview. But, she got 1.5 million followers. I think there's only like 10,000 views on the video. People don't want to hear this message. People don't want to hear, like, how you need to fight and how guys need. They want to see, like, the drama of the hoes she's got in the studio talking crazy about men and the drama-filled stuff. Those are the ones that get all the million views. But, like, some of my followers are like, well, it's good knowing you. Now you're going to be famous after Pearl. I'm like, first of all, I'm not changing no matter how famous I get.
Yeah.
And I don't think I'm going to get that famous because people don't want to hear my message because I'm talking about how to fix this. Everybody wants to like, when I've done videos where I'm kind of whining and complaining about the system, those videos blow up and get shared. When I say you need to grow some balls and fight, those don't get shared that much. Like, my viewership is going down since I've been on Pearl. So
really, okay,
yeah. I mean, I don't. There's a couple people who called me. I saw you on Pearl. 10,000 people saw me on Pearl, and I went back to look at the comments. They're still just complaining about the system, and they're not saying, wow, you won in court? How could I do that? Like, when the guy who mentored me, when he said, guys should do this and that, I'm like, wow, what does that really mean? And I did a follow-up meeting because I wanted to know. At that meeting, the first time I went to a Dads Against Discrimination meeting, at that meeting, there was about 30 people in there, and some of them were the guy's girlfriends. So there's at least 20 guys in there, and small little group, but all of them except me didn't just walked away whining, crying, and left. And they thought they were going to get some miracle or something. Like, I was the only guy that followed up with that guy. So, it's really like, 10% of people who watch my videos actually contact me and want to do something, and then really 1% really follow through and fight. So it's ugly. It's a war, and the average person doesn't want to fight. They want the easy way out, especially nowadays with microwaves and cell phone and click of the mouse, you get answers. Like, it's not a fast food drive-through thing. It's a war.
Yeah, all out war. I understand that wholeheartedly, man. I agree. All right, so should we get in topic 6, mediation?
Sure. Yeah, I have a video on YouTube, I think, about mediation. It's a scam. If you think about it, like, people are so anxious to go to mediation because people resolve cases at mediation. Well, usually people resolve at mediation like when you cop a plea in criminal court. The others, you're scared to death to go to jail, and the prosecutor says, like, let's say you walk on somebody's lawn. I'm going to charge you with damage, trespassing, malicious mischief, loitering, and this and that, and you're going to go to prison for 5 years. Or you can cop a plea to probation for 3 months. Most people do that even if they're innocent because they don't want the hassle. And so they strong-arm them in negotiations in a criminal case. In a civil case or family law case, you go to mediation, usually you pay an attorney. Some courts it's free. But a lot of times you're paying an attorney $200 to $300 an hour. There's a real corrupt one in Seattle. They have a minimum like $600 and they're $400 an hour. And they're going to sit there and just watch you talk, and then you talk. What do you want? What do you want? Negotiate in the meeting and say, I don't know if that's a good idea, and this and that. If you guys can come to an agreement at a mediation and come to terms, why don't you just talk right now and say, hey, do you want to come to terms on this? And she says, no. Okay, you can't come to terms. Oh, yeah, I'll do that. And then sign it. Why do you go to a mediator to watch you guys, not agree? And then it's a real waste of time. But if you agree, that means you could have agreed before. So why'd you go to mediator? Because these attorneys have a scam going to make you think, oh, if you go to a mediator, it's superficial when you negotiate. And they tell their buddies, hey, you do mediation for me, I'll do mediation for you. And they, have these handshake deals where they go and I had actually, when I went back to school to get my bachelor's after I went through my custody battle and stuff, when I went back to school, I had a professor that said, if you guys get your law degree, the best thing to get into is mediation, because you can show up at a law firm. There's no overhead. You don't have to rent your own office. You can work from home. You show up at the law firm, make a couple $100 an hour. You just sit there and just watch them talk, and you throw in your little tidbits, and then you say, okay, here's the summary of mediation. They're really not doing anything. They're sitting there watching you guys fight or negotiate. Now, some of the mediators, like I had one guy, I told him, do not settle for anything less than 50-50. He walks out with 4 hours of visitation, and then he could see his kid overnight a year later. And he's crying and saying, James, I settled on this. I'm like, why did you do that? Oh, it was hot in there, and they were pushing me. And my own lawyer said, you'll go to trial if you don't settle here. I'll quit because I'm not going to trial, or you need $10,000. Okay, so? My thing was like, so? You sold your soul to your kids because it's hot in there, and there are 3 people, and the mediator was pushing like, you're not going to get that. You're not going to get that. Even if you're right and I'm not going to get that, I'm going to go for it, because if I go for it and I go up to trial, there's a lot of people, the guy pushed the case all the way up to trial, like playing chicken, where you race your cars and you're going to go off a cliff or go into a wall and who stops first. Like you're playing chicken all the way up to trial. Like guys, they know how to do this stuff in every other area of life. But when it comes to family court, we have a big fat brain fart, and all of a sudden we don't know how to do this. You say, okay, I'll go to trial. I'll represent myself. You got to pay $10,000 to your attorney. I'm going to put you on the stand for a day. I'm going to take the stand for a day, and I got 4 witnesses. That's 3 days. And then you take your turn to put yourself on the stand and your witnesses. That's 5 days. Your attorney's going to want $20,000. And I might win and get what I want. I may not win, but I might. Do you want to roll the dice? And now you have some leverage. But guys are too scared to even go up. It doesn't cost anything to say I'm going to trial and get ready for trial. So mediation is a scam.
I agree. After how you put it, it's like it is a scam. That's something.
I mean, if you can't agree with them, why do you need to pay a stranger to sit and watch you guys agree? Just settle the case. Have your lawyer call her lawyer and settle it. But see, we're dealing with the culture of the court. They're doing stuff the way that they've always done it, just because that's just the way we do stuff around these parts here. Like, we're just doing it because we always do it. And the courts order it. And I had some of my clients have gone in there and say, why do we need to go to mediation when we're not going to settle? We won't settle. We've already negotiated. The lawyer and the judge just says, I'm just ordering because that's what we do. And that's the only reason. It doesn't make any sense, but it makes them money. It makes the system money. And so does domestic violence assessments and anger management assessments and supervised visitation and guardian ad litem. If you think about a guardian ad litem, they come on board, you give them a big fat retainer, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, and they investigate. What are they investigating? They ask the mom what she thinks. They ask you what you think. You're already going to court to testify to that. What's the point? The only thing a guardian ad litem is good for is when they go dig up medical records and make an assessment when you can't get access to medical records, or they observe the kids with the parents. But everybody's putting on a show at that time. So the guardian ad litem is like, you already have a right to go to court and prove your case. If she's a good parent, make her prove it. Why do you need to have this extra investigator appointed by the court that everybody has to pay for? Like, I don't want to pay for something. I want to put on my own case. And, for most guys, the guardian ad litem is a radical. I know a guardian ad litem on a case. She told the dad and she told the kids, I can make you go with your mom. You better listen to what I'm saying. She's like talking smack to the kids. And then told the dad, like, I could take the kids away from you. Like, they listen to the guardian ad litem so much, So yeah. I see Yana making a comment. I work with her. She's a great resource. Yana Coaching, JANA. she helps guys that are dealing with dad-daughter relationships. She's one of the greatest people out there working in this, especially among women.
Yeah. All right, so let's read Yana's comment. We got Yana Coaching, which is JANA Coaching. Great stuff. I send my clients to James all the time. Yeah, for sure. We've got that, and that's a beautiful thing. Thank you, Yana, for your comment. And we've got PJ_.WC.AMGG join the chat. Shout out you, man. That's a good dude, great musician, talented guy. He's really supports. He's showing support right now. And then we got, who else do we got? We got a couple other people in here. We've got one person big that I know, Mr. 8x10 joined, and I want to shout out him. It's a really good dude, really good father, and he really cares about all of his kids. I want to shout out him. And you know, we got Comet Calling, third party interest, $$. All right, Comet Calling, we got you. And then he commented a bunch more $. And then we got F.Gomez156.FG, culture of the court, he had said. Comet Calling said 2,500. And then F. Gomez said, and child support too. Comet Calling said absolutely. Comet Calling said gross. And F. Gomez said multi-billion-dollar illegal child trafficking business. And Yana Coaching said, thank you so much. Roy.B.7 joined. Shout out you. And Yana said, once again, dads need support. Sadly, it's still rare. I agree, and I support you all. God bless you all.
Yeah, and one reason that it's rare is that in 1994, when Joe Biden was a congressman, he wrote and passed the Violence Against Women Act. And for those who don't know, if you just look up VAWA, you can read it. And it said the intent of the Violence Against Women Act is to protect women and children. And that thing has given billions of dollars to women's rights groups, women's shelters, domestic violence seminars that judges go to, and they say, yeah, kick the dad out. Who cares about his constitutional rights? See you later, buddy. And you know, it says Violence Against Women Act, and it says it's intended to protect women and children, but 60% of child abusers are mothers, and at least 50% of women commit domestic violence. So it's like, I mean, you don't have a bill that passes and say, hey, we want to protect children from pedophilia, and we're going to help the child molester too. Like, and how come it doesn't say men? Like, supposedly in some court papers, they're like, when there's domestic violence, we don't care about the gender, but all the money's going to one gender. And so there's just not much support groups. And all these fathers' rights groups fizzle out and disappear after a couple of years. I've seen it I've been around 23 years. I've seen these guys come and go, and I'm still here.
Yeah. No, I see that. And we got one more chat. We got Mighty LO0N, and he said, judge told me she will dismiss the case because I'm not the legal father. Meanwhile, after a year, she brings up that I'm not the legal father when I am, and sign acknowledgement at hospital.
Well, if she didn't sign the acknowledgement, I mean, you got to walk away with a copy of that. Do you know if it got thrown away or not? If somebody, when they give you a carbon copy of that stuff, and guys should keep that stuff. A lot of guys don't keep a birth certificate. They don't know if they're on the birth certificate. Just because you signed it doesn't mean that it went through. You should go to your local vital statistics department of your county and get the birth certificate and see if you're on it. If you're not on it, then something happened there, and you have to go and start a case to establish paternity. I mean, that's where guys got to jump on this stuff immediately. If you know, as soon as there's conflict, you got to jump on all this stuff, and you got to know whether the birth certificate. You got to have a copy of that. So
he said he has it.
Oh, he has
it.
Is it okay? So if that's the case, then the judge is just corrupt, and you got to attack her. I mean, I don't know what to say about that without seeing all the allegations and pleadings. But also, I'll say this: a lot of times you can go to court, and a judge can make a declaratory judgment. A judge can say the mother was holding him out to be the father. You got text messages saying you're a great dad, or you suck at a dad. She's holding him out to be the father, and she's acting like he's the father. She's not letting any other guy see the kid. for visitation, and and give me some money for child support or whatever. She's holding him out to be the father, so he is the father. So unless there's some contrary, overwhelming evidence that contradicts that, you can't make a finding contradictory to the evidence. So I would have to know more detail about what led the judge to make that decision or ruling before I could say exactly what to do in that situation. But there's a lot of different things you could do to establish you're the father, even if you don't have the birth certificate. But once you have it, that's recognized by the state. So this judge is probably ignoring the law or ignoring procedure, and definitely ignoring the preponderance of evidence that he's the father, and has shown some bigotry, and she should recuse herself for that.
No, I agree. I agree. I mean, it's like if he's got this amount of evidence, he's got proof that he's the father. What more can you do? Oh, we got
Right.
King Digga over here. King Digga, join the live, man. We need you on the co-hosting duties. Let's see if we can get you in. And yeah, no, I'm listening right now. Go in with anything further you had on it. I like how your style is about this, man.
On any further on what topic?
Well, we just covered mediation as a scam. Let's go into number 7. Let's go 50-50 plus, and politics won't fix the problem. It's the culture of the court. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
So I kind of go ahead. I'm sorry. What?
We got King Digga in the chat right now, yo. King Digga, just real quick before we go into the next topic, please introduce yourself to my man right here.
All right. What's up, sir? I seen him earlier. I just jumped on his page and unfollowed him and shared a few things. But yeah, man, they say my name, they say the tag name, but I'm Rodarius Hargrove. That's my real name.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I'm a active dad, just like whatever y'all got going on, whatever you got going on, because I checked you out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't know what to say. I know there are advocates for us. You are. I watched you already. I just peeped it. So it's like, all right, signed and sealed. It's a done deal. We appreciate you, sir, because we ain't got a voice. How about that part?
Right. Right.
But yeah, I got a lot of things going on with my kids too, where I'm going through a situation. But you know, it's only a situation because I'm allowing it to be a situation. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, I'm being bamboozled. Like we was just like I was hearing y'all talk about, like somebody getting more than what they deserve. And I ain't talking about the children. You know what I'm saying? Because they already taken care of, and it come out of my money that come from my job. So that's already all I want is my time with them, and I feel like I'm being held up from that.
Right.
But you still receiving, and you think all I deserve is a phone call. Hey, what's up? Nah. No, I want to be more than that. Yeah. I am going to be more than that. You know what I'm saying? They don't want to, I am, but, you know.
Right.
I don't know. It's kind of touchy, so I don't really want to. I got to get myself into it, you feel me? Because it's kind of touchy speaking about it.
Okay.
I do appreciate what y'all got going on. Hopefully this drops some knowledge on those that don't know, those that's biased to certain things. Maybe they don't pay attention and just catch something that they need to be catching. Because I was catching you when I was up in Glen Hills. I'm in Augusta, Georgia right now. But as I went to pull off, I forgot I was sitting in Wi-Fi, and I forgot after work. I forgot to put that on my phone. So as I'm riding, I'm talking to y'all trying to type, and it wasn't even going through until it just said connection failed. As I'm going down Deansbridge Road, I'm like, oh shit! I'm like, damn. So I came over to my boy crib, like this is my best friend. You know what I'm saying? They my therapist and my psychiatrist.
Okay.
They came to yeah, I'm in their house right now, and they know all my problems. You know what I'm saying? They the only ones I trust with all my shit. Okay. For real, as they go down here. But you know, like I don't know, man. I'm just here to listen and watch, and you know, drop the jewels on me and let me know what I gotta do, because I got paperwork that's active that I'm in the process of doing. Because I won April 10th, but it was signed and sealed and everything by a judge. It was sent to me that she was in the wrong. She couldn't file for the state of Georgia. She did. I mean, she did. She was filing like I was in New York, but I've been a resident of Georgia for almost 3 years. In December to be 3 years. my child support thing only been going on for about a year and a half, 18 months. And in a year and a half, 18 months, she had me getting spousal support, which I've never been married to or nothing. So in a year and a half time, she ran it up $12,000 in a year and a half time for only 2 children. And I have 4 other ones. Plus I have an active child support case in Newburgh, New York, but my other daughter that's just outside of my 2 children's race, you understand? And she only get $42 a month. And I was like, damn, how the hell my one kid get $42 a month that's on the record? And then they looking at this incident that's on the record, but these 2 kids get $1,408 a month when I don't even make that. You know what I'm saying? Right. Take care of me, then keep that, and then still, you know, understand? So it's like, they hit me with the liens. They keep saying, oh, you got to send this to the email and all this dumb shit. But I'm like, all right, cool, I'll send it. But why y'all don't see that? Because it was court ordered by the judge. It's a New York State seal on my shit. During the proceedings, the judge specifically said, he is not a resident of Georgia. You filed for him as a New York resident while he lived in Georgia. You're going to have to file under the state of Georgia if you want to receive anything from him, because this is New York. You're asking us to take money from him while he's been there, but the paperwork says he lives in Georgia. I can't push, you understand? I can't push the paperwork no more because you're putting down one thing because she's a paralegal lawyer. She works for Sogo and shit. You know what I'm saying? So she did all the documents on her own. This ain't come from social services, man. She did it on her own and then presented it to the courts and then had me served when I came up there to see my son. That's how that shit happened. So all the numbers was false, but then again, the lien just popped up like a week and a half, 2 weeks ago on my shit. So where they taking like $60, $70 a day off my check. A day. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, you know, so shout out to you putting up for us. We gonna get some insight, and that's how that's gonna go.
Okay.
So I don't even know where I'm supposed to go with this situation, but you know, I'll make it happen like I did the first time. The first time when it occurred, I did what I had to do, file my paperwork. So that's why I won it on April 10th. But if I won on April 10th, how am I still being served with a lien if it's already?
What did you? Well, I don't even know what you're talking about on April 10th. What did you win? What did you win?
No! Me and my children's mother, we was going to family court for it. We was going through a custody and a child support battle, basically. You understand? So, I got half custody of my son, and that's when the Judge Pazzalosi in New York, she withdrew and dismissed the child support case or whatever, because I guess she was trying to show her documents or whatever, but all the documents is showing like what I do with my kids. I don't hide what I got going on as far as my children's concerned. So she was asking for what I don't make. It was false. I presented my W-2s. You that the year I got caused fucking shingles, you put down fucking, you wanted all this money from me, but I only had made $1,200 on the books that year. You know what I'm saying? That's the same year I made only $1,200 a year. That was last year, $1,200 for that whole entire year, $1,208. They still fucking let the $1,408 judgment go through. That's what I didn't understand. I'm like, well, it's obvious I didn't make the fucking money, so how the fuck, if for the year when I had this fucking shingles and shit, if I ain't make $1,408, how can you say that's gonna be my child support payout when it's clearly since I've been in Georgia, my lifestyle and the money.
I don't know the details of your case, and I haven't seen the paperwork and stuff, but the courts have the power to impute income, saying you should be making this, and this is the amount you should be making, depending on your age. So they might have imputed income, whether you're making it or not. That's one of the problems with the system too. If you made,
earning potential.
I mean, that's another way to put it, but they call it imputing income. They impute and slap an income on you that you could be made. Like if you were working, one thing just another part of the child support scam, like in 2008 or so, or 7, when Bush was in office, we had a major recession. I had a bunch of construction clients. They were making 80 grand a year, 90 grand a year. And then when the recession hit, they had to get scrap jobs and be a handyman. and make 40 or whatever. And they're saying, well, you made 80 before, so we're going to say your child support is based on your 80 income. But he realistically
Right.
can't because there's a recession, but the courts didn't care. They were slapping it and imputing income. But there's an argument against that, but guys usually don't make the argument against it. So,
What's the argument?
well, I mean, one of them is in order to impute income, you have to find, like in Washington, the statute says, if anybody's in Washington, it's RCW 26.19.075 or 071, where you impute income, you have to make a finding that the father's voluntarily unemployed or underemployed. I mean, he's voluntarily trying not to work to avoid child support or just not working when he can. Well, how do you determine when someone's voluntarily doing something?
Every day.
Exactly.
Was that?
That reminds me of what a Muslim.
Yeah, no, I was saying shit. I don't even miss days of work. That's the crazy part. So it's like just accumulating. It's cool that they take money, being that it's going to my children, but she's getting more than her just due. And I just don't think it's fair to my other children, because I'm like, well, if they see this documented at Orange County is only across from Dutchess County, how can a child in Orange County that was on child support first be receiving $42 a month and only $10 and some change a week? But she just started this since I've been in Georgia. I've only been in Georgia 2.5 years, and her shit is $1,408 a month, and she clearly makes more than the other party that gets child support too, and me. So it's like, I'm like, how the hell did they come up with $1,408 a month if these one people, man, I don't know, but
no,
hey, what can I say?
What you saying, bro?
Yeah, because it's just, it's I want to be the best thing I could be for them. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna be, and I am, as far as what's right now. It's gonna keep going up, but it's just like if she's trying to stagnate me, then she's not part of their growth either, though. Because what's good for me is good for them. I never you know how I am with my kids since I met you, bro. Like I always be about my kids. Like I be coming from, because I've been there. I go up to New York just to see my kids for like a day. She'll pull up with them for like an hour and a half. And be like, yeah, get with me later and shit. I'm like, damn, I left Georgia on fucking Friday. I'm up here on fucking Saturday morning. You ain't hitting me by Saturday night, Sunday fucking afternoon. I'm like, I gotta get back on the bus because Monday's a whole new fucking day. I'm not about to chase you. Oh, my kids have a birthday party. I come up there. It's cool for them to get the presents, but I can't come to the birthday party. I ain't even, first of all, I'm not even woman aggressive. So it's like, why wouldn't I be able to come to the party? Like, I ain't even coming here for you. I ain't asked you about what your life is like and none of that. Only thing I asked you about my kids.
What do you think about mothers excluding the fathers from birthday parties?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, you, James.
What do I think of mothers excluding dads from birthday parties?
Yes. Or fathers excluding mothers. Just parents excluding another parent.
I mean, that's pretty messed up. I don't know. There's nothing really to say about that. I mean, that's one thing that Kanye just complained about. He couldn't see his kids at the birthday party because she was alienating the kids from him. Yeah. And I mean, obviously that's wrong. That's the day you celebrate the kids, and one parent says, "Oh, we're only celebrating one half of the family." I mean, that's all part of the whole alienation and undermining. I mean, it kind of goes without saying. That's just pretty evil. But a lot of times in parenting plan, when you get a court-ordered parenting plan, you split birthdays. Like 1 year a parent gets the kids, and the other year the parent has to celebrate it late, which, sometimes that happens in regular life. You don't celebrate the birthday on a school day like you have a birthday party that Saturday. So that's not that big of a deal if you get some time with the kid right around the birthday. But, if there's no court order in place and they're doing it, that's foul. But that's why you go get a court order. I tell guys if they don't have a court order, go pick up. I tell guys if they don't have a court order, next time you pick up your kids, don't give them back. And then go file for full custody.
Yeah. Yeah. And Digga, have you thought about filing for full custody?
See, I haven't thought about filing full custody because I'm like, I just want to be fair. You understand what I'm saying? I'm not trying to be like, oh, mine. I'm like, all right, because what me and her went through is what we went through. I'm sure I can understand why she's sour about shit, but that has nothing to do with the children. especially after a while. You know what I'm saying? I've been in Georgia 3 years. Before I came to Georgia, my life wasn't, I wasn't living right. I just got finished doing 15 months. So it's like, and I was home for 3 days and ended up coming to Georgia. First time I went outside in Georgia, I got 2 jobs, and I ain't never turn around and do the same things I was doing again. So when I'm stepping to the plate, I just expect you to act like it. I ain't asking for my cool. I ain't asking for you to just like kiss my ass, shower me with fucking rose petals and shit. But if I'm speaking about the kids, your aggression and nothing, that don't have nothing to do with you no more, because now we being mature about the situation. What the kids say, the kids getting older. My daughter 13, my son, he's 8. They go crazy anytime I'm on the phone. That says everything. Why would you try to hold that back? Oh, well, I'm not receiving enough from you. I'm not giving you anything because they take the money out my checks. So if you want me to do things for my children, like I was doing when I bought him the cleats and shit for his first game, first handoff of the fucking game, he runs the ball 79 yards for a fucking touchdown, and then taking the fucking pitch. I'm like, why she ain't happy for that shit?
Yeah.
Right? You know what I'm saying? I knew her forever. I got 2 kids with you. Your dad wasn't pulling up for you either. You know what I'm saying? So it's like that. And then it's like, you know, I don't want them to be making me feel like they're giving her the better half just because, and it's definitely not a race issue because 2 of my children have it. It's never that, but that's what it is. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, all right, cool, all right, whatever. My stat sheet is better than hers, and she's cool, whatever.
It
But
doesn't matter.
still recognize that it don't even matter when we talk about what I'm trying to do as far as the children is concerned. Anything outside of that, that's on me, and I'm gonna have to go. If I want to fuck up and be an asshole and do some dumb shit out here, then I'm gonna have to go sit my ass down with the rest of the fuck offs. But other than that, that ain't what's going on in the last 3 years. So
Yeah.
I'm just confused.
What are your thoughts
about that? Your live hit right on point today, though. You was right on time. You definitely was. I gotta go back to work tomorrow.
Yeah, I understand. Bro, James, what do you think of what he just said?
I mean, it none of it matters if you're not going to court and getting full custody or when you go pick up your kid. I mean, you're just placating to her games. I mean, when you said, well, I don't want to be the bad guy, I don't want to go on the offensive, well, then you just have to cater to the monster or to the devil and just do what the devil says.
Okay.
I mean, you got to go to court and get some kind of court order to solidify stuff, or next time you have your kids, just take your kids as long as you want. I mean, anything less than that is you're just dancing with the devil and just following her lead. I mean, I don't know how being nice to somebody who's abusing children, because she's abusing your children by not letting them see you or celebrate you or be a part of. She's a child abuser, and you're saying, well, I don't want to be too harsh on the child abuser. That's most of the problem where we get we want to be cool and down to earth and resolve stuff peacefully. Women want drama and chaos, and then once they get to the point where they start abusing our kids, we should get on the offensive, and we should go to court and go for full custody and get a psyche eval on her and get her to get counseling and take parenting classes because she's abusing and withholding the children. But if there's no court order in place and a guy has time with the kids, if she hands the kids over to a guy, I'm like, why don't you just keep the kids? Why do you give them back when she says to give them back? So, you know, I mean, she's dictating to you.
She ain't following rules.
Say again?
Right.
Yep.
Say, yeah, right. You're right. If she ain't following the rules of this co-parenting, why should you if it's not being ordered?
Yeah, I thought do you have a court order? I thought you didn't have one.
Nah, we're not. It's not. Nah, it ain't no court order for like far as like what we doing, like visitations and all that stuff.
If you don't have a court order, then it's the wild, wild west. It's wide open. It's whatever you guys want to do. And if she says you can't have the kid and you obey her and follow her lead, then that's what you get. When you get the kids, you say, no, I'm not giving them back. You should probably call the cops, and then you learn how to deal with the cops and all that stuff. And then, and you blow the cops off. And, you know, I had a guy in California, he didn't have a court order. They're going to court in a couple of weeks. He had the kid on Thursday night. The mom wanted the kid back Thursday night. He said, no, screw you. I'm keeping the kid. She kept the kid. The cops came. He told the cops off. They left. And then, you know, and he got to have an overnight for the first time. And then he had evidence in court that overnights were great. And so, if he didn't do that, he wouldn't have any proof that the overnights worked well when they went to court, because he hadn't had any overnights yet. I was the first person to ask him, why don't you just keep the kid? He's like, oh, I didn't know I could do that. Like, is that your kid? Yeah. Well, I thought it was a crime to keep my kid. Well, why don't you call the cops on her? Oh, I already did. And they said they can't do anything. Well, you got your answer. They can't do anything. So women don't own children. We act like they own children. We act like they own children.
Right. It's my responsibility as well as it is hers. The same exact, you know, we make them together. So that's my, so I'm just, you know, I don't know. You're right. I'm being a little bit too passive about the situation. Not far as like what I think about it, but just far as how I'm going about it with her. She being aggressive. She ain't being aggressive like in my face verbally, but she's showing me on paperwork she is. So yeah, so that's what I need to do too. Right, because I got my shit, but I just got to stop. Because when the court sent me the paperwork after I got the judgment, I was like the plaintiff. She's the respondent. Like she had to respond to what I was sending her. So they was making her go to court for me. I just was taking my time to send that fucking paperwork back. Cause I'm like, man, I don't really want to do it to her, but I will. But that's me still trying to keep that street mentality, and I can't choose that over my kids. So that's what I'm recognizing.
The thing, man, is it's not the street. I'll tell you that as someone who's a gangster rapper. It is no street mentality when it comes to family court. Because at the end of the day, you could be in whatever street life you were ever in, and nobody's going to help you get your kid back. And maybe they'll give you advice. They're not going to do any street things to get your kids back, and none of that stuff matters. Nobody's going to say you're a snitch because you say you were attacked when you tried to pick up your son. Am I wrong?
You're correct.
To my knowledge, I'm not considering someone a snitch or whatever. It's that's a different.
You're right. You're right. It's just it ain't even. I don't call it that shit. That shit stitching because I don't really like to use that type of lingo really no more because I don't play around. So no need for me to use it. But it's still sort of kind of. It's just like again, it's still me with that mentality, acting like. Oh, like certain rules still apply to life. No rule apply when it comes to my kids. That's what I do understand. I am understanding, but sometimes I be like, kind of like, no, I can't be on the back burner no more. Cause I'm feeling real emotional and personal about my shit nowadays. So
Yeah,
you know, it'll happen. It'll happen sooner than later.
God, what?
You know, it all depends on me though. It all depends on me. That's why I'm glad you popped in with something like this, especially with somebody that's knowledgeable of it. You know what I'm saying? So you home run with that one. You and Mr. James though.
Yeah, go ahead, James.
Okay, what do you want me to talk about?
We can go back to topic 7, or we can go further on this.
Oh, I'm not sure what I mean, I hear you guys telling your stories. I don't know what you want me to comment on. Like there's a lot that was said, but I mean the main lesson is if you don't have a court order and the mother is dictating your access to the kids and not letting you see the kids, either go get a court order or keep your kids. But there's a whole strategy that comes with that I don't know how much time we have left, but I don't have time to get into that whole strategy with that. But that's the short of it.
Yeah.
You know, get a court order and force her to hand over the kids, or don't give the kids back when it's your time. But as long as she's in control, or we let the mothers be in control by just obeying what they say is our access to the kids. If there's no court order, you can take the kids to Hawaii or the Bahamas if you want to. There's no court order. Nothing's stopping you except her. And when we cater to mothers when they do stuff like this. So you either go get a court order or you put your foot down and you keep the kids as long as you want because they're your kids too. Like if we got a car in both of our names and she says, well, I'm gonna take the car tonight, say, okay, I'm gonna take it tomorrow and hang out with my boys or whatever, and then you do it, and then she gets mad because she wanted the car another time and she calls the cops and says you stole the car. You can tell the cops, well, this is my car too. So you just take the car, whether she's mad about it or not. Like we get afraid to like put our foot down with our kids sometimes, but that's why you either get a court order or you just put your foot down. I mean, you're not going to change a crazy person's mind to stop being crazy. You have to do something about it. And that's usually the first step for most guys. Do something about it. Either putting your foot down with your kids or get a court order. And usually that means going to war, the stuff we talked about earlier in the first live and earlier in this one.
Yep. No, wholeheartedly, I agree. Yep, Dick, what you got?
Me too. Man, I just like to listen and, listen and watch. I'm learning still, bro. So, I be in my mind about a lot of things, but, if you got me to open up, it was a win. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause some things I don't want to put out there, but yeah, I do need to, because this is all personally, like me. It's a personal way how I feel about it, but, I'm a not drastic with my decisions, but if it go that way, it's be so. So I'm being cool about it. It's straight. I ain't mad at her either. Like, I still, when I call her for the kids, I'm like, yo, the kids sleep or whatever. I don't even mention none of that. She doesn't even know right now that they started taking the lien again out of my job. After they stopped it, it just popped up again out of nowhere, without no court order or nothing, without nothing. It just started all over again after it got stopped. But she don't even know. And I done talked to her numerous times already. This is about 2 weeks, 3 weeks already they've been doing it. And I ain't said nothing yet. I just be just like, all right, bro, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm calling about the kids. Once me and you can have to have a personal conversation, we'll talk about it. I ain't really worried about you getting money for them. It's just the amount you're trying to get.
I understand. What I'd say is let's go into topic number 7, which is 50-50 laws and politics won't fix the problem. It's the culture of the court.
Yeah, so I kind of talked a little bit about this earlier, but I had said, if you pass a law, like Florida has a law presuming 50-50, and then Missouri has a law, Kentucky has a law. The Missouri law is really horrible because these idiots didn't even read it when they wrote it up. But it says that there's a start with a presumption of 50-50, unless there's domestic violence, abuse, and stuff like that, which is usually the exceptions. And then it says if the judge doesn't feel 50-50 is the best interest of the child, then he doesn't have to do it, which makes the whole thing totally moot. Like, why do you even have it there in the first place? Because now you're back to whatever the vague best interest of the child is. So the 50-50 laws, I mean, women usually get custody and control by saying the dad's abusive, he's neglectful, he doesn't care, he's committed domestic violence, he's suicidal, he's a druggie, or he went to jail, or this and that. And then that's how they get control. So if we tell the women, look, now we're going to make the fathers automatically 50-50, unless you can show abuse or domestic violence, guess what they're going to do? They're going to ramp that up. So, and like in Florida, where they just passed a 50-50 law earlier this summer, everybody got all geeked and excited about that. But I had to tell people, like, look, there's still like 20 other factors the court has to consider in the law. They start with that presumption, just like they presume you're innocent until proven guilty. But if you get railroaded in court, like, I don't know, like the Central Park Five, they were proven to be rapists, but it turned out 17 years later through DNA evidence and a confession by somebody else, they weren't. But so you're presumed to be innocent, or you're presumed to be a 50-50 parent, but they still got a chance to prove otherwise. So it doesn't now. That starts with the presumption. So the parents who agree, they have to agree out of court to start with the presumption of 50-50. But we're not talking about the parents who agree. We're talking about the parents who fight and the crazy women who withhold children from their parents, which is a form of child abuse, which is what's breaking up the families. They talk specifically about the black family having the worst the highest statistics of absent fathers, and how these young boys and girls are struggling growing up without a father and stuff. Yet they reward women for going to court and doing this. So the women are the ones doing it. So we should stop it. And the way we stop it is by dads going for full custody and dads keeping their kids and not incentivizing it with child support and welfare and stuff like that. But those systems aren't going away. So the only answer is for dads to get on the offensive and get their kids. But if the 50-50 laws, you're dealing with the culture of the court. The court is anti-father naturally. So you have to go to court and unbrainwash them. And that's where the statistics come in and my resources come in, or just you can find all the resources I have. You can find them online for free. But you have to go in and unbrainwash the judges from thinking, oh, I should just be at every other weekend dad. You got to prove to them that's not the science. The science says the kids suffer when I'm not in the home full time. So why don't you get closer to me being in the home full time? So the 50-50 laws, they're a great start, but you have a whole war going on where they're going to try and take that away. So the 50-50 laws ain't going to really do anything. I don't see them doing anything. The states that have been around with them for a while, I haven't seen anything change there either. So People get their hopes up with the laws. We need to change. Like I said with the example before, in Jim Crow South, if you're a black person who was accused of raping a white woman, you're innocent until proven guilty. But it's the Jim Crow South in the 50s. Do you think if you're a judge and everybody in the jury is in the Klan, that you're going to get a fair hearing? Like on paper, you have a right to due process and a constitutional right to be presumed innocent. But in reality, the culture of that courtroom is racist. So the culture of the courtroom everywhere in America is anti-father. So you have to go and unbrainwash them. So we're dealing with the culture of the court more than, because we already got good laws. Best interest of the child. What's the best interest of the child? Both parents. If a parent withholds a child, that's a knock on them. But they never enforce that because they don't care, because the culture of the court and the mindset is we don't care about that. So we're dealing with the culture of the court more than we need better laws to fix everything, like all these fathers' rights groups say. And I saw F. Gomez, he was saying, you know, these fathers' rights groups, you go in there and you tell the truth, like, you know, they want to prance and dance around and talk all this. Let's just be fair and let's be nice and let's, you know, we don't want to take the kids away from the mom and blah. And there's a war taking kids from dads. And then if you go in there and say, no, you need to get on the defensive and fight, most of these fathers' rights groups will kick you out. Like if I go in there and tell the dad, here's the answer, this is how you fight, they're like, well, that's too harsh. I'm like, well, that's the way that it is. And then I get kicked out for saying stuff like that. Because they just want to just complain about the system and talk. Let's go with a nice strategy that doesn't offend anybody. Like you think in any kind of revolution or civil rights movement or even the women's rights movement, they weren't nice. Nobody won a movement by being nice. They won a movement by, like, they didn't have to blow anything up, but they had to be.
Yo, nice shit got Martin Luther King killed.
Right.
To be honest.
Yeah, because he had some enemies. And even when he was peaceful, he was still firm about what he wanted. You know, he was still, you know, he didn't sit back gently. Like he got arrested. He was marching and he went places they didn't want him to go. So when I go to court, I go places that they don't want me to go. Like this woman is mentally ill. Why would a woman withhold a child from a dad when that harms the child automatically? She's a child abuser. They don't want me to go down there. And they might even harass me a little bit. But when I keep hammering away at that, sometimes I get through to some of them. And Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and, you know, Evers and all these other people, they kept hammering away until the culture changed and it got a little better. So I guess that kind of covers that topic.
That does. That does. What do you think? What do you think?
Appreciate that.
What do you think?
Shit, I just appreciate it. I don't really think nothing. I'm accepting anything he talking about because he's a professional, right? So I gotta take heed before I even, whatever he throwing at me, I gotta catch it because my way wasn't working. That's why I'm looking for answers. So,
that's the main thing.
You know.
I would say let's go to number 8. It says fathers' rights groups haven't done squat for 25 years. They're usually full of losers who don't know what they're talking about.
I guess that stopped today then.
Let's go.
He putting that on. That's all. I don't know what they talk about. They probably wrote that when they wrote that yesterday, day before yesterday. They write that today. They didn't write that today. I'm saying he down here taking his time out, putting y'all on. Y'all got questions? Jump in the box. Yeah, he's answered. He's been answering questions since I've been watching. He's done answering my questions. He listened and like y'all got motherfuckers around y'all that love y'all or supposed to love y'all. They don't to nothing. The shit you talk about. I know the whole thing.
Let's go.
I don't go by that paperwork, man. I go by that. And listen, even when you see it as proof, you talk to me about it beforehand, but I was like, yeah, you know I am. I talk to you about my problem, but not the world. But then I'm saying to myself, yeah, but that's probably why I need to be speaking up, because if I'm actually going through it and I'm being honest and truthful about this shit and I'm not playing her mind, then I need to be talking too so people can they can feel just like me or I can feel just like them. And at the same time, we all fucking learning. But you having a life, bro. I don't even really know what to say about it. I just wanted to hear more. For real, to be honest with you, but shit. If I can't listen up for my kids, then I can't be listening to nothing.
All right.
That's how that go. You feel me?
What
So,
you got?
that's why I stepped out their crib. I'm at somebody else's house. I'm like, man, fuck that. Hey, man, you gotta be quiet, bro. My wife's gonna kick you out. I'm like, well, bro, I'm gonna have to go sit outside in the front.
No,
I gotta go.
I know what you mean, man. I had some people like that too. Yeah. It is what it is. I mean, people stuck in the matrix. All right, what you got, James?
Well, which one was it? What was the topic again?
Once again, I'll read it. It would be Father's Rights Group.
Number 8.
Haven't done squat for 25 years. They're
Oh, okay,
usually
yeah,
losers. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I started off working with a group called Dads Against Discrimination, and let me see, I got a warning about my battery. Let me make sure I got unplugged in here. I started working with a group, Dads Against Discrimination. They actually had passed a law called custodial interference in Washington. They did a little bit of stuff. They taught me a little bit about how to fight. They had several guys who fought in court without an attorney and got full custody or got rid of their child support. So there were some groups at first that were doing stuff like that. And there was like another non-custodial parent rights group called the Other Parent that popped up in Washington after